So why is it that takes the lead in 2024, and that is in how many months? From January to August, in 8 months. Wagwan, beautiful people, my Caribbean islands people. So in today's video we are going to talk about why the Caribbean islands compete so intensely in areas like tourism, sports, culture, and economics. So we are going to look at several factors that contributes to them like competing. But before that, if we get to understand why they compete, we will be able to appreciate the role that they play in the global stage. So one of the factors that you are going to look at is the geopolitical fragmentation, which basically describes the unique features that each of them offer, as much as they all are in the Caribbean islands, or they are part of this region called the Caribbean islands. So we are going to look at tourism under the geopolitical fragmentation. Another factor we are going to look is economic necessity. So under tourism, we are even going to compare it with the Kenya. We are going to see this pie chart showing the distributions of the number of tourists that came into or entered or actually visited the Caribbean islands. Guys, I normally confuse. We are also going to look at so many things. Why is Jamaica not in top 3 or not number 1 in the list of the number of visitors that have so far visited the Caribbean islands? So we are going to focus our analysis based on January 2024 to August. So that is the only thing that I'm going to do today. We are also going to look at our cultural identity. You know, they normally host these carnival festivities or celebrations, which is not really a celebration, it's a way of showcasing the culture. So they compete when it comes to hosting these festivities, just to showcase their culture and ensure that, you know what, the culture doesn't die, but it is embraced into the modern culture. We are going to look at post-colonial aspirations, which has given these Caribbean nations an international arena to compete in sports, tourism, culture, and everything. And this is to showcase or demonstrate the capacity for self-governance, since most of them gained independence in early or in the 20th century. We are also going to look at regional cooperation. You know, they compete and at the same time, you know, they are cooperating. Does that make sense? You know, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because we are going to put it in such a way that you know, this thing that normally happens among the sibling rivalry, you know, they will do a lot of things, they will compete fiercely, but at the end of the day they will be like, you know what, when we come together we are going to be stronger. But at the same time, the reason as to why they compete is to enable them, you know, have this space for innovation and excellence, and the cooperation part of it is to enable them, you know, solve these common problems. And of course they have these organizations like the CARICOM, Caribbean Communities, which help them promote economic integration. So those are some of the things that we are going to look at in this video, and kindly let us jump into our analysis video. I hope you like it, I hope you will enjoy. Kindly subscribe, you know, my Caribbean people, I love you to the moon and back. So my Caribbean people, wagwan, beautiful people. So I mean, for the next 2 weeks I think I'll just be doing these Caribbean stories, you know, because I am in love with the Caribbean. You know, you are the best actually. So I have always been seeing this competition Of course, in online sources and articles, not like physically. No, I've never been to the Caribbean. So there has always been this type of competition, and I want us to talk about it today. And guys, you are free to also comment down below and let's educate one another. So today I want to see the competition that has been happening, and we will measure on some few factors like agriculture, tourism, but on the tourism section we will only base from January 2024 to August 2024. Okay, those are the details that I'm going to discuss only. So if you go down below, or if you don't get to finish the video and then you start commenting, oh that's a lie, that's a this, no, my data will only be based on January, from January 2024 to August 2024, because of course I understand that the figures are quite different. So most of you have been like, no, we don't have Caribbean nations, we only have Caribbean islands. So which is which? Kindly educate me, which is which? Is it Caribbean nation? Because sometimes I find myself saying Caribbean nation, and then down in the comment below I'm told, no, it's not Caribbean nations, it's Caribbean islands. So guys, which one is correct? Or both of them are also okay? So as we all know, or if you don't know, there has been these competitions, and the competition has been intense in areas like tourism, sports, culture and economics among the Caribbean countries, not really countries, among the Caribbean islands. I don't know how many islands there are in the Caribbean nation. Oh my god, that is just so difficult to to remember what to say and what not to say, so kindly understand. It's Irene here, still trying to get into Jamaica and being interested in your culture and everything, and that we will say thank you to the Travel Commando and D Mwango, sorry, because they're the people that have made us fall in love with you, the people of the Caribbean nation, Jamaica and all that, you know, all of you watchers actually. So before we get into the general topic, we need to understand why there is competition among these islands, and once we understand the why, it will help us to appreciate the role of the Caribbean islands in the global stage or the global space. So we will be answering the whys mostly in this video, and we are starting our video by defining Caribbean, you know. So Caribbean is a region made up of small islands. They're actually small in size, small in population, yeah, and that is how it has been since. So each of them, they offer unique features and identity in terms of almost everything. And my good people, what I would like to tell you is that unlike other countries, you know, some other countries like Kenya, we have a larger space, larger population, but for them they have smaller size islands. I don't know why they are not referred to as countries, honestly speaking. I've never understood about that. That is something that has just come up in my mind, like right now. I don't know why you are never referred to as a country anyway. Or is it that most of the other white Western world, they rule the islands? I don't know, but you are free to comment down below in order to help us understand, or some of us who didn't know about the islands or the Caribbean islands. So as we had already said, unlike other countries in the world which have large areas, or which consists of a large area with a high population, you know, for these other countries, fighting for this world or fighting for recognition is minimal. Unlike the Caribbean islands, like they really have to fight for recognition because of all these factors. So the Caribbean islands, of course, we had already talked about that, and one of the factors as to why they compete in terms of most of the things, in terms of sports, in terms of culture, in terms of tourism and economics. And remember, most of them, they're just kind of similar. So we are going to look at geopolitical fragmentation. And what do we mean by geopolitical fragmentation? That means that each island has a unique identity, you know, and we are going to look at tourism in the first place. So tourism is basically a way of showcasing the culture, the landscape and experiences. And remember, each of these islands showcases different culture, different landscape and different or a unique, let me just, instead of saying different, let's just replace it with unique culture, unique experience and unique landscape. You know, they're not the same, of course. So many of the islands, generally all of them, many of them primarily depend on tourism. Not really apart, all of them depend on tourism as a way of driving their economy. Why do these islands compete? You know, why do they compete? But before we answer that, most of these Caribbean islands, they compete for tourists, for survival. So that means the more tourists they have in their country, you know, the better the economy, and they have to compete for these tourists. How do they compete for them? We are going to learn about that later. Of course, things like investing in marketing, introducing like smooth access to these islands. So we are going to look at them more and more as we discuss this topic. So we are now looking at tourism under the geopolitical fragmentation, which refers to providing this or having this unique identity among themselves, you know, each of them providing or having this unique island, not really islands, unique landscapes, unique culture, unique experiences. And of course, if you travel there, it's not going to be the same. If you go to Jamaica, they'll have everything unique in terms of the experience, in terms of the culture, in terms of other things, you know, even the landscape. If you go to TNT, Trinidad and Tobago, the same. They will not have the same culture, but at the end of the day, all of them will have to compete and probably fight for this recognition in the world by basically doing most of the things, you know. So that means in terms of competing for tourists for survival, it means that the more the visitors that they are going to have, the better the economy. So the economy will grow, although they are actually facing a lot of challenges like this, like natural disasters, you know. Those are some of the challenges that these Caribbean islands face. We are going to divert just a little bit and talk about Kenya. Let us compare Kenya and the Caribbean islands in general. So I'm not going to do like one by one. No, it will take a lot of time. So I will just combine the all Caribbean islands and compare it with Kenya, because Kenya is also an hub for tourism. You know, we have a lot of scenic places, we have different culture, different food, different landscapes or unique, yeah. But our main problem is marketing strategy. The government really doesn't market a lot, but of course from the various sources which I have gotten it from online, you know, between January 2024 and August, we have seen this tremendous growth in our tourism sectors, and we've been able to receive 924,812 international visitors since 2024. And I know some of you will be like, oh, how comes? Why the sudden growth or the sudden, yeah, there are a lot of factors that came into place. For instance, visa free, like thing that the government introduced in some countries, and we received a lot of them, although it had some challenges at some point, but I didn't follow up on it again. So those are some of the things that actually boosted our tourism sector. Another, okay, that means from, if you compare it the same time last year, we have had a 91% growth in the industry or in the sector. And of course, we mentioned this visa-free thing that was introduced by the government to some specific countries, like so that they can easily come into our country. So apart from that, we had the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions, you know, and targeted promotional campaigns by the government of Kenya. They really marketed places like Mombasa and these good hotels where tourists can come and see and all that, or visit, you know. They did a couple of them, but they have not really invested in it, and also enhanced vaccination on matters COVID and all that. So those are the things that boosted our tourism industry. So that means it positively impacted on our economy. And that being said, the government was able to generate 167.1 billion Kenyan shillings just by receiving visitors, international visitors. So for the Caribbean islands, okay, sorry, so let's go back on the information where I got the data on Kenya and the tourism sector and the figures between January 2024 and August 2024. I got it from, or the source is from Nation, a newspaper, and The Star, and all of them you can still find it online here. So let's discuss about the number of visitors, international visitors into the Caribbean islands in general. Let's talk about general, and we are going to be specific on the timing. We are talking about January 2024 to August 2024. So between January 2024 and August 2024, the Caribbean islands received 25 billion. I don't know if it's correct. So these figures, you can find it in Travel and Tour World, Tourism Analytics, and One Caribbean. Is that true? Even me, I kind of doubt it, but anyway, I am not sure about that. 25 billion? No. Oh my god, I think they just meant 25 million. So let's just put it at 25 million visitors, international visitors. And we are talking about the all Caribbean islands, all of them, guys. Do you think it's possible for 25 billion? It looks impossible. So according to the sources, we are told that Aruba, African Dominican, and the Bahamas tops the lists of receiving international visitors who are the same as tourists. They are the top. Jamaica, why are you not in the top 3? You know, and even it was my first time to know about Aruba. I didn't know about Aruba. These small islands in the Netherlands, you know, I didn't know about it. I mean, there are so many islands that I didn't even, oh my god, I'll just have to learn about it one by one. I think if I do content every day for the next 2 weeks, I'll be able to know so much about Jamaica, and it will be in my fingertips, you know. So some of the factors that contributed to the increase of visitors to Bahamas, African Dominican? Dominican Republic is the same as African Dominican. Okay, you know, guys, some of the things just pop up like when we are speaking, and that is why, yeah, we just find ourselves asking these questions. Otherwise, if we weren't talking about them, we will be searching at the moment. So the reason as to why we have a surge in the number of visitors to Bahamas, Dominican Republic, and the Aruba, number one, they have relaxed travel restrictions. Like, it's not intense, they are not so strict, you know, and that is one of the things I think that should be number one or number two after easy access to those countries, right? Or is it the same? And then we have increased air connectivity, so that means that probably they must be having direct flights to those countries, to either Aruba Islands. Guys, I keep forgetting islands. I think they have direct flights to those countries, or it is very easy to just access this. Oh my god, islands. I keep forgetting, sorry. And another thing is that they have rich cultural experiences. So me talking about these factors does not mean that the rest of the Caribbean islands don't have. They have all of this. The only difference is that the top three, like, they have more or broader cultural experiences, broader air connectivity, and yeah, that is the difference. And of course the opposite, that means maybe somewhere like Jamaica, like they have a restricted things to do with cultural experiences, something like that. So as I told you, the sources to this information which I am putting out here today is the Travel and Tourism Analytics and One Caribbean. So those are three sources. So so that you know, you don't come to my section and to my comment section and say, Irene, you're lying. Irene, you're lying. No, I'm not lying. I just got this information and I thought it twice to share it with you. So let us have a look at this pie chart, which illustrates or gives us a visual representation of the distribution of tourists who arrived in the Caribbean between January to August 2024. So as you can see, the African, I don't know why I keep saying African Dominican. The Dominican Republic is, they actually had a 9.6%, and then Aruba 7%, Bahamas 7.9%, Jamaica, my Jamaican people, oh my god, 5.3%, oh my god, and then Puerto Rico at 4.4%, and other Caribbean islands 65.8%. So that's a visual representation of showing the distribution of tourists arrival in the Caribbean islands between January to August 2024. Anyway, why is it that our Jamaica is not number one? Why is Jamaica not number one? Our Jamaica, oh my god, you need to be number one. You need to be number one. Anyway, let's just continue. Don't take that serious. So why is it that Jamaica was not number one? Why is Jamaica not appearing number one in the list of receiving international visitors or tourists to boost the economy, given that, you know, Hurricane Beryl did that thing to us just recently, guys, and we have not yet recovered from it, remember, you know, and that is why we had the, was it the chairman of the economic program committee, something, you know, appearing in media saying that, you know what, the Bank of Jamaica needs to implement these low interest cuts by tomorrow, Tuesday the 20th of August 2024, so that at least it can boost, it can ease businesses around, because most businesses are at the verge of, you know, going down when it comes to interest rates, not interest but debt payment. People are going past due dates, you know, that indicates that things are not well, and the interest rates need to be cut down so that people can be able even to access loans in the first place to rebuild. And I support him 100%. Some of the people, their homes got destroyed and they need help, of course, and one of the major help that they can get from their own government is to lower interest rates so that they can maybe take loans and boost their businesses, and in turn be able to repair or rebuild their homes through the profits that they get from the business. That's just an opinion. So why is it that Jamaica is not in the number one list? Because, you know, I am sure now, if I go outside there and interview people about what do you think, or which Caribbean island do you think receives most tourists in the Caribbean nation, and I specify it between January to August 2024, I am sure my Kenyan people will say Jamaica. Actually, do you know that Jamaica is the only known islands? Nobody knows, even like St. Lucia, I don't know. Nobody knows T&T, nobody knows Cayman. Personally, in my 30s, I got to know about the rest of the Caribbean islands. Me, I didn't know. I only knew about Jamaica, and in fact, I didn't even know that it was an island. I knew it is a country. And when I was young, I was like, why does this person say that they have never even been to Africa and they are black? You know, I used to wonder why, because by then we didn't have access to a lot of we didn't first have access to internet. We did not have access to even phones, because in Kenya, as long as you're under 18 years, by then, you know, accessing mobile phones, especially smartphones, it was kind of very strict. They didn't allow us into this online space until when we completed at least university. That is when we accessed internet and all that. Anyway, guys, let's go back to our main question. Why is Jamaica not number one? So we are going to look at the size and the infrastructure. I know you're wondering, what do you mean by size and infrastructure? So number one, in terms of size and infrastructure, we are going to look at hotels, resorts, and direct flights connection, you know. So this means that Jamaica has less of this compared to the Aruba, the number one Caribbean island that receives most visitors, tourists. For them, it means they have more hotels, more resorts, and more direct flights, or they actually did, or probably something like they introduced a visa-free kind of thing. I don't know why I'm using kind of thing. Oh my god. So they introduced visa-free for citizens from other countries. So that is why I think they're at the top there. Remember, guys, we are talking about January to August 2024. So if you go to other online sources and try to dig in like the information, probably you are going to get a different information, because if you try to know between 2023 and 2024, the Aruba will not be there, you know. If you try to look at the past 5 years and up to now, Aruba will not be there. So as we are talking about January 2024 to August 2024, and by the end of the year, who knows, maybe Jamaica will be number one. But for now, the Jamaica didn't take the lead, and we understand because of what has been happening recently, you know. That is a blow to Jamaica. That was a blow to Jamaican economy. The hurricane burial, the recent earthquakes, you know, it prevents people from coming, not really people, but tourists from visiting our motherland, Jamaica. Anyway, I love you also, even if you don't come from Jamaica, you know. And let us look now at marketing and branding. Why Jamaica is not number one at the moment. So they haven't invested so much into marketing and branding, especially of these great destinations, unlike somewhere like Dominican Republic, who have invested so much into marketing of these specific destinations like Punta Cana, oh my god, I don't know, Punta Cana and Santo Domingo, you know. So number three factor that has contributed to Jamaica not being at the top at the moment is, and like the Jamaica, most of the hotels, they don't have an all-inclusive services, you know. And I think that matters a lot, because as a tourist, if you go to a specific hotel and yeah, they charge differently most of the things, you'll be like, oh my god, let me just search any other place that has an all-inclusive rates, you know. And number four is air connectivity. So Jamaica is not at the top because of air connectivity. Like they don't have direct flights from these major cities in the world or countries in the world like Canada, USA and Europe, yeah, they don't have this direct contact, you know. So if they make it easily accessible for people to travel straight to the Jamaican soil, it's going to be easy. But now I'm also not sure about that. That is just according to information that I just saw in these online sources, you know. When you talk about the diverse attraction, you know, all these islands have, I'm being told, or what I just read is that Jamaica has less diverse attraction, you know, compared to the Bahamas and Dominican Republic. Oh my God, is that true? Is that true? So why is it that Aruba Islands takes the lead in 2024, and that is in how many months? From January to August, in 8 months. Why is it that they are taking the lead at the moment? So they introduced a free visa or a visa-free travel for citizens from particular countries, and not just countries but 79 countries. So you can imagine that first is a major boost to its economy, because people will be traveling knowing we don't need visas to be in Aruba, you know. But anyway, I don't know so much about this Aruba. Even me, I just learned about it today, but I'll be able to check it out later to learn more and more and more. But it's not really, it's not a popular island, because you can imagine in my 30 I just learned about it. So we are done with geopolitical fragmentation. All those things that I've said, they're under geopolitical fragmentation, which basically means that you're going to look at these unique features, aspects that each of these islands presents or have. And one of the major thing under that was tourism and why they compete in tourism, you know. So we are going to look at the economic necessity at this point, and what I can say is that, you know, the Caribbean islands, they face a lot of challenges most of the time, because they are like, it's, I don't know how to describe this, but you know, they are very vulnerable to natural disasters. Very vulnerable. And that we said, it's all about the location of the islands, you know, especially Jamaica. Oh my God, you know, I'm so sorry that you have to be in that place. And we are told that what causes all these storms and all that, it's because Jamaica is located on the northern part of the Caribbean plate. Oh, so sorry for that. So why do they compete anyway for this economic stuff? Why? So number one, they compete in agriculture, and that is because of the limited resources. And the reason as to why they compete is for them to maximize this output, and also in order for them to be able to export their products. So you can imagine the land size is small, the resources means that it's going to be little or small, and competition has to be there so that at least they can be able to maximize the output and be able to, of course, export. So economic necessity is a factor that makes these Caribbean islands to compete, is number two. So let's look at cultural identity. So the Caribbean islands have a rich cultural history, which is influenced by the Africans, the Europeans, and the indigenous traditionals. But why do they compete culturally? So we have heard of carnival festivals. So these carnival festivals, most of you, or even somebody like me, I thought like this is basically celebrations, but today I got to understand it's not even a celebration. You know, it's a way of showcasing the culture, you know, and also it's a way of competing, you know, so that at least everybody's competing to showcase a vibrant cultural event. And also in order for them to, you know, they don't want the culture to die, they want it to be embraced into the modern times. And that is why every year they have this carnival festivals, you know, and to identify their culture and all that. So that is all about cultural identity and why they compete to host the most vibrant festivals. Of course, they don't want their culture to die. They want it embraced into the modern times, and that is I think at the moment there is a festival which is trending. Is it in St. Lucia? I believe so. Yeah, there is a festival happening at the moment. So let's look at post-colonial aspiration as a factor that makes these Caribbean islands to compete. And when I say about competing, it's just competing in a good way, not in a bad way. But of course, most of us will be like, why are you competing? You are one people, you know. Anyway, there is a good reason to that at the same time. So when we look at post-colonial aspiration, we know that most of these Caribbean islands, they gained independence in the 20th century. Most of them, if not all of them. So by them competing in international arenas, especially in sports, in maybe music. Is music part of sports? In trade and in culture, you know, it enables them to probably demonstrate the capacity to govern themselves, you know, and that is a big way of also supporting themselves. Post-colonial aspiration is a factor of them probably like competing is to showcase that, you know, they have the power and the sovereignty to govern themselves. Last but not least, we are going to see regional cooperation is a factor that contributes to the Caribbean islands into competing among themselves, you know, regional cooperation. I know you are like regional cooperation, and as we are talking about competition among the Caribbean island, yeah, it will make sense just like now. So interestingly, while the Caribbean islands compete, they also have a strong sense of cooperations, and they have organizations like CARICOM, you know, Caribbean Community. This cooperation, it enables them to promote economic integration among themselves. But some of you are like, why compete and integrate now? Why compete and integrate? You know, it doesn't make sense, but it will make sense in the next 1 second. So let's take this example. You know, when siblings have this friendly rivalry, you know, what they do is that they compete fiercely, but at the end of the day they recognize that you know what, we are stronger together. Like if you work together and if you work as a team, you are going to achieve a lot. So cooperation will help them address common challenges, and competition will help the Caribbean islands to push for excellence and innovations. I hope you understood that point, you know, why they compete and integrate at the same time. So I hope you really found this video amazing. I hope you learned something, and kindly let me know if I should continue doing these type of videos. So if you watched the video up to this point, I just want to say thank you so much for your presence here. I appreciate everything. I don't take it for granted.